Hi, welcome everybody, and thanks for having me here. It's a great opportunity to speak. I only have 20 minutes, so I'm not going to spend too much time on any type of introduction. Just quickly, why am I somewhat qualified to speak about this topic as Chief Strategy Officer? I work as a Chief Strategy Officer, but I love technology, I love algorithms. I'm a computer scientist by education, have a PhD in algorithm engineering, and I had psychology as a minor, so I love advertising because it brings all those things together. One personal note to myself, I tend to walk a lot on stage. As we're having a camera on me today, I should stand still a little bit more, otherwise this guy has to follow me all the time. And he's good. All right, let's start. So what is AI? What is it all about? The thing that annoys me a little bit is when you talk about AI, you usually talk about stuff that's not possible, right? So Richard Stoker, it's a famous AI researcher today, said a couple of weeks ago that he has the feeling that AI is always defined as the stuff that is just not possible today. So it gets harder and harder and harder. And everyone says, well, AI is going to happen tomorrow or next year. And interestingly, 2 years ago, people said, wow, AI can do everything. Now today, 2 years later, people say, well, it can do a lot, but not as much as we thought 2 years ago. So what I'm doing today is giving you a little bit of background, what from a pragmatic computer science perspective AI actually is, and how it's being used today. And, well, I hope that you don't need to be afraid of it, but embrace it as an opportunity. Cool, so that's the simple part. AI basically is a program that can sense, reason, act, and adapt. And that's it. Simple as that. And now the interesting part, which people always confuse, there's the area of machine learning within AI. There are also expert systems where people try to have stuff rule-based. They tend to teach the machine everything by constructing it and giving everything as a structure, and then business rules are to be followed in an intelligent way. Machine learning means that the engine learns over time by itself. It self-optimizes, right? And now the stuff, and then I'm already done with the academic introduction, that is confused today a lot, deep learning. So sales guys comes to you, well, we're doing AI. What he means is, well, we are doing deep learning. Is deep learning AI? Yes, it is. Is general machine learning AI, so a random forest, logistic regression, a simple decision tree? Yes, all of this is AI, and there are different tools for different problems with different framing conditions like speed to learn, speed to act, forecasting quality. All this needs to be taken into account like a toolbox to select the right stuff for your problem at hand. So, deep learning, I'm not going to go into detail here. This is multi-layered, deeply layered neural networks. Basically, it's nothing new, but there's a reason you can do it today a bit better, or a lot better than 20 years ago, why today it has relevance in reality. Looking at the timeline here, AI is rising, right? Everything is happening now, it's super exciting. But honestly, well, machine learning, so the automatic learning part, was invented kind of 2 centuries ago. So 805 to 1957, groundwork was done. Most of the topics, also including neural networks, by the way, were already invented back then. So what we today describe as deep learning was actually born 1965, where a guy from Minsk, Alexei at the bottom here, found out how to do this model generation in a completely automated way. So nothing new. But what has happened? Why is it such a game changer today? Well, one is there's lots of data. We're in digital. We can measure everything. We have billions, trillions, quadrillions of transactions of data at our fingertips. Too much for a human being, right? But not too much for those guys, for AI algorithms. And why? Because computation is so cheap. Remember the times when a 20 megabyte hard disk cost 2,000 euros? Well, it wasn't euros back then, it was Deutsche Marks where I come from, or dollars or whatever. But today you can store huge amounts of data, basically almost free of charge. You can compute on 20,000 compute nodes, almost free of charge. Just for 20 minutes, then you drop them again in a cloud environment. So this is what has made computationally and storage-intense applications business relevant today. The theory and how that done is actually used and built, the building blocks are actually quite old. So if someone tells you, we are doing AI, the others are not, you're either working with completely the wrong people or it's a sales guy that doesn't know that any type of machine learning is AI and that deep learning is just the hammer in the toolbox. And sometimes you need the screwdriver, and sometimes you just need a torch. You just don't know. And your provider hopefully does the right choice for you. So deep learning is great, but it's not the solution for it all. Most notable, all those solutions are pretty narrow. So that's more the philosophical discussion. When will there be a human kind of artificial intelligence? It will take a long time. Because today, all those systems are pretty narrow, just like we are mostly narrow. Well, we can walk and talk, we can eat, think, sense, reason. That's pretty cool, but day to day, we solve individual problems. We do better marketing, we do better advertising. Some people are just email experts, right? So also AI is an expert system, and it will take decades until we are where you could potentially say, wow, this is a human kind of intelligence which has been, let's say, exposed by a machine. So we are not even close to being there, and I will have reasons why that is a little bit later. But most notable, and that's important for you guys also to know, what types of machine learning, because we're talking mostly about machine learning today, are there actually? There's unsupervised, there's supervised learning. Someone tells you the good, the bad, and then you learn the patterns, a sale, not a sale, and then you learn from it. And then there's unsupervised, like in fraud detection, right? We heard it before. What's fraud? There's no clear definition. So how does the machine learn? It can't learn just like that. It needs to look at patterns, look at unusual behavior in an unsupervised way, and then raise flags, communicate with people, and then again learn from it. But it's just like swimming. No one can tell you really how to swim. How do you do that? How you feel the water? Can't do that. You need to experience it. You need to find it out. You need to get a little feedback. Mostly you don't drown, right? But it's unsupervised mostly. But what are the major challenges on AI? The biggest challenge is the training problem. So if you train a computer to play chess, that's cool because it's free of charge. You just need a computer, you have the rules of chess, you have a virtual chessboard, and you have another computer, maybe even the same one, and they share the CPU, and they play against each other. You win, you lose, you learn. Easy as that. If you do advertising, it's a little different. You need to spend money to see what's working. So you can build the perfect AI if you had unlimited budgets. But there needs to be some smartness on bringing business knowledge, business domain, and historical information into those machines by experts, giving framing conditions, how to let the machines run and execute. And this is absolutely necessary, because otherwise you're burning money because you need to learn, and there is no free lunch. Learning needs data. Data needs to be produced by people, not bots, looking at websites, buying stuff, clicking, being on websites, viewable ads, engaging ads. All this needs to be measured, and it only happens if you pay. So there is a limitation on how good those things can be, because you can't train them until they're perfect. Otherwise, you're wasting money. And the transparency problem. The more complex something is, like a deeply convoluted neural network, the harder it is to say why. Just imagine this type of neural network like a human brain. So if I ask you, what's your favorite color? You say blue. And why? No idea. Because there's some sort of synapses firing here based on some stuff you might have seen in your childhood. It's a deeply layered neural network, but you can't reason. You can't say why. If you have a decision tree, that's easy. Left, right, there's a decision on each node, and then you can say that's it. People love transparency. They love to know why decisions were being made. But sometimes AI can't give you that transparency. It's just not possible. And that's where we have to learn. How transparent should a system be for what type of task in order for me to trust it? Because sometimes they can't explain. They can give you a high-level explanation, but they cannot explain really why they made a certain decision. So you could say, I'm taking the less qualitative approach because it can explain better, and that is a trade-off that we all have to discuss and see how we're moving forward. Neural networks are intransparent per se, and that is actually one of the hottest research topics right now. So this is just some talking on stage. It's really one of the biggest research topics in the area to find out how we can give more transparency into such complex decision-finding algorithms. So I'm not going to talk about that guy a long time, but he supervised my PhD thesis. He's pretty good in what he does, but it took 10 years till people trusted his machines, even though it was better from the first day. Why? Because he made predictions for HIV retroviral medication, and doctors said, well, I've been doing that for 20 years. I know how that is done, and if the machine can't tell me how it made the decision, I'm not going to trust it. So at the end, empirics proved after 10 years that his approach was better. People started picking it up, but he had really a big problem with the transparency because it was not possible to explain why medication A, C, K was the right one and not A, B, and C to treat that particular patient based on his DNA profile. So some examples, some generic examples, which I find interesting, and I'll not spend too much time. Who knows who that guy is? It's just blurred, but most of you know it, and I'm not going to explain a lot. It's Lee Sedol, this Go player. Go is chess++. Super complex. AI won against Lee Sedol. Big news. It was a Google engine playing that game, and it was like, wow, that's great. But what was really interesting about it was not that he lost, but this little move no one could understand. And maybe we just listen to the live commentary from the original game quickly. Hope the sound is on. It is.
Interesting. So AlphaGo played this move, which I want to hear more about in a second, but Lee has left the room.
So let's not look too much into this. You can go check out also this documentary on Netflix. The interesting one is they were like, wow, what the hell happened here? And the answer was they thought he lost it, the machine, not he or she. It lost the game. They said, that's it. It's crazy. This move is never going to work. Well, 50 moves later, they saw, well, actually, that was pretty ingenious. You could say it was sort of creative. So there was some sort of creativity the machine kind of exposed, which was not just the next best move and not making a mistake in a very structured environment. So this is something that I find very interesting and shows where machines will be going, but it will take lots of time because this is one of the most structured environments you can have. Rules are known. Two computers playing each other in a basement, 6 months, training, and voila, you have a perfect player. It's not that easy, right? And it's combining many, many methodologies. But this move is the interesting one. Not that in general the machine won. I think this is something we will see more and more. That's another example. It's a tossing bot. Tossing is easy, right? So you just take something, you toss it into a box. So what did that thing do? Because you might think it's easy. I just want to show you why I don't need to be afraid. Because this thing, basically, it needs a perception network. One expert that is looking red, blue, heavy, non-heavy. Then it needs a second network that is for grabbing things, carrying things. Then it has velocity, actual physics built in. And then it has the actual throwing in there. So this is 3 highly expert systems. Physics laws encapsulated into that just to learn throwing. And this is current research that was published a couple of weeks ago. This is really hot shit, right? So we're not there that you just throw a problem at an AI and it starts working. There needs to be heavy training, super experts training the system and telling it what to do. Last example is from insurance. I have it in here because it's so similar to advertising. You have patient journeys over decades. What medication did you get? It's supervised. How long did you live? How many side effects did you have, right? The longer you live, the less side effects you have, the better the result is. This is perfect for an AI. It's supervised, success, non-success, clearly differentiated. In countries like Denmark, you have very, very good records on what has been given to a patient at what point in time and what has not been given. There's good compliance in taking out the drugs because it's a very controlled system. So over this type, patterns can be learned, and prevention and mitigation strategies can be identified. So this is where we can do better than in the past, based on the data from the past. This is the last example which I have, and this is on, who knows that game? Big gamers here. It's also based on World of Warcraft. It's Dota 2. It's a massively multiplayer war game, basically, where you play heroes. But what's the difference to Go, chess++? This is highly unstructured. You have different heroes with different skills. You don't know which hero you're going to be exposed to. The map is hidden. There's no chessboard. There's no go field. You don't know what it will look like. So uncertainty is extremely high. Machines don't like uncertainty. They still like structured environments. Even though they can drive cars, this is today still a little bit too much. So at the end, humans prevail. We won that game. I am predicting that in the next 2-3 years we will lose that game because that's how it happens. But you can see that not everything will be tackled by AI very soon. If such a simple game, perceived by a human being in that sense, can't be won by a machine today. So that was the intro. Now let's look a little bit at advertising, right? So where are we doing this today? And I want to give you the feeling that we're already doing it a lot. So why is the internet so attractive for it? Well, at the end, it's as I said. It's massive at scale. Quadrillion signals, data everywhere. We can leverage it, we can use it. It's all digital, we can activate. This is the perfect environment for artificial intelligence. That's why so many great AI people are actually working in this industry, because there are so few areas where you have a couple of million of queries per second, where you have so many transactions and so much data to train engines, give them rules and guidance in order to really get to the best result. And where do we use that today? And that's by far not everything. Like, I'm not even mentioning things like data-driven attribution. So forecasting, trading per se, product retargeting, smart throttling, fraud detection, cross device, audience extension, yada, yada, yada. It is everywhere. And if you are, well, I guess that vendors that have not done this well are not in business anymore, because this is the status quo. So if someone comes in and says, we're doing AI, the others are not, it's very likely a sales guy. Be careful. So I'm not going to go into all of those details, but I just want to show you how an AI learns. And it's a complex slide. I could take 5 minutes just for this slide. Basically, an advertiser has his positive data. It's supervised. Sale, non-sale, newsletter sign-up, whatever you are looking for. Engagement on the site. And there's all the data from the publishing websites where you know how the user journeys look from. And of course, you can do user journey analysis. You can look at it in depth. But do you actually get all the hundreds of data dimensions, all the things that drive a certain sale? You can't as a human being. It's way too complex. It's way too complex. But the machine can take this. It's a customer journey, and then it sees that an impression by itself doesn't provide anything. The video view, well, completed, that's good. So we can raise the likelihood by 10%. The machine does it automatically on a per placement level, on a per conversion level. Then it bounces, she bounces the user, and it goes away. Comparison side, strong intent, I want to buy, and then this feels natural to you, and you could set that up as business rules, but the system learns it itself. It updates itself every hour if there's a change. For instance, if new data flows in, and we don't talk conversions, but net conversions after financial scoring. Look at the customer journey, top left, electronic news sites. You might see that actually social clicks and price comparisons did drive that. So not this one, but this one. So data is fed into this monster, and it learns automatically at scale. That's what you need to do. Trust the machine with stuff where you think this can do it so much better than I ever could. And then stuff like this comes out of it. So that is complex. That's pretty complex. It also has deep learning components. I want to show you dynamic ads just quickly because we're running a bit out of time. Here, it's exploration versus exploitation. You might know that you found the perfect creative after 20 minutes of the campaign, but you just have not seen enough. So you can use actually very simple Bayesian statistics in order to build a machine learning approach that sometimes explores new stuff, then goes back towards exploiting what was successful, and then it goes into the exploration phase. How it does that? Completely automatic. It's intelligent in that sense. It gives you insights because it's Bayesian statistics. It can tell you why it does what, unlike a deep learning engine. So this is where you always have to find the right trade-off. Right tool for the right problem. Act early or act perfectly. Those are the dimensions we are all working in. Scale, relevance, efficiency. That must be the goal. Not, well, I think we have to use deep learning now because that's the hot shit and it's just better in any case. That's not true. So, what's next? And you all know this, right? It's going to be digital assistants. It's going to be more touch, less keyboard, and this is going to change how people interact. We're going to have those things. They are full of AI. You can see it. It's NLP, language processing, voice synthesis, classification, offer optimization, computer vision, and even emotional intelligence, finding out what mood I am in order to give me the right music maybe in the evening compared to the morning where I might be grumpy before my coffee. We can hook that already up today into the engines, into the tracking engines. It's not a problem at all. The question is how to use that. How do we build on top? How do we want to do that? And who do we partner with? How open are the ecosystems? That's a BMW assistant. It's launched, it's open. You can link your stuff into that assistant in the future. And how could that look like at the end? Well, I'm going to skip this one from the voiceover. Basically, you can do hyperlocal stuff in the car. You can have the assistant talk to you. Can they have systems give you an insight where to pick up your phone, where to pick up the new GigaCube offer that you might be seeing from Vodafone, which I actually looked at. So that's a real-life example. What I would have loved to have, my assistant giving me this forecast, and then also giving me the free trial, guiding me to the next store, picking it up. That's exactly what I want. A machine standing between me and the machines doing marketing. So we're going to a machine-to-machine marketing world. And that's going to be very interesting. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's something we have to watch out for. So I promised you, with the 1 minute I'm running over, to let you know what machines can't do and where you guys and girls always will have value in advertising and everywhere. Today, they can't do this. Change of plans. A baby puts everything in his mouth. 5 years later, it wants an iPhone. Why? I don't know. I want to watch telly on an iPhone. That's great. No one told you. You just want that. The machine gets a goal. It works towards that goal. It never changes it, right? So it needs training, supervision, what's right, what's wrong. The human is important and will be for a long time. Multitasking. So we're doing this constantly, right? Machines can't do that. You might think they are really good at it, but they can't do it. They are good at following one objective, the one goal you set. They never change it. They only want to follow through with that. And that's it. They can't do multitasking. And this one is actually the most interesting one. When you get up in the morning, you take a shower, you didn't have any goal. And then you get out of the shower and you think, wow, I had the greatest idea of my life. Eureka, zero-shot learning. That's all of you. That will never be this machine, not for a long time. So the most important thing we have to learn and take from this maybe a little bit condensed presentation is that we are in the driver's seat. We need to talk with the machines, collaborate, find out what they can do, give them the right guidance. We need to be creative. We need to cover the unstructured part of the world, the one that isn't digitized and quantitative, where guidance needs to happen, where goals are being set and creativity is important. Not just creativity in creating the right video, creating the right message, but also how to use technology in a creative way to really build new business models and services for the good of the humankind or just the good of the company. Your choice, and that's where the opportunity lies. So sorry for running a bit over time, sorry for so many slides, but as I said, I'm really passionate about this topic, and if there are questions, feel free to ask me anytime here, later, via mail, LinkedIn, and I just have to say thank you for listening for me 5 minutes longer than I was supposed to present.
Thank you, Jochen. Thank you so much. Thank you.